12 o'clock, welcome in. It is the halftime show. Tyler Head, Terry Ford along with you on your Monday morning here on The Game. Unfortunately, having to navigate another dismal weekend of Gamecock baseball as Gamecocks did go on the road and get swept by number one Tennessee out there in Knoxville over the weekend to wrap up the regular season. Now they turn their attention to the SEC tournament coming up tomorrow, taking on Alabama. I've said this a couple times this morning already. I try and be overall positive and optimistic about things, and I try and be glass half full and all those other cliches. But if you're asking me to kind of grab onto something with this baseball team right now, I don't really know where to go. These last 2 weekends have been rough on all fronts. At least against Georgia, there was the silver lining that, your pitching wasn't great, but your offense at least was, in a way, able to keep step with Georgia through a lot of those games before things just kind of got away at the end of it. But this past weekend, your pitching wasn't good. Your offense was really nowhere to be found. Out of 27 innings played on through Saturday, Gamecocks scored in 5 of them. And only one of those innings, the second inning on Friday night, where they got all of the 3 runs, that was the only inning of the weekend where they scored more than 1 run. They were not able to put hits together, weren't able to move guys around the base path. Like it was just a stagnant weekend as a whole from an offensive standpoint, and that's frustrating. Especially when you look at the caliber of opponent they're playing in Tennessee. You're not going to win low-scoring games against teams like that more often than not. You got to be able to put runs on the board. Cole Messina was really the only bright spot of the weekend with going 6 of 11. Everybody else was, just kind of underwhelming for the most part. A lot of guys went through multiple games without getting hits. It's just frustrating. It's a frustrating place to be. The fan base is frustrated. I've been, hearing from you guys all morning long about kind of where you're at with all this. I know a lot of you want to change at head coach and all that, which that conversation has been going on for a while, and I'm not saying you're going to get that. I'm not saying you're not going to get that, but that's a decision to be made at a later time. The next challenge is obviously the SEC tournament and trying to put something together for the postseason. Now, again, when you look at all the metrics and stuff like that, South Carolina should have a spot in the field of 64, but I couldn't confidently sit here and bet a large sum of money and tell you, no matter what happens tomorrow against Alabama, they are definitely going to be playing in the NCAA tournament coming up the end of next week. And I can't comfortably say that. I think they're going to, but I don't know for sure. And you've put yourself in this hole. Go back to 2 weeks ago before the Georgia series. You were the number 16 seed. You were projected to be hosting a regional. And you didn't even have to go through and necessarily win both these series against Georgia and Tennessee to let that still be true. If you found a way to get 3 wins, whether 2 against Georgia and 1 against Tennessee or vice versa, you would still be in comfortable position to probably be in consideration for being a host. Now you get swept over the course of the past 2 weekends. We're sitting here saying, well, I think they're going to be in the tournament, but I can't 100% with 100% certainty say they're going to be.
Hey, how you doing? How you been? You good? Life treating you well?
I think we've all been better.
Look, that's what you just said. That's the thing that, well, not the thing, but one of the many things right now that aggravates this fan base was going into the Georgia series, which was here.
Mm-hmm.
All you had to do, look, if you could have won 2 out of 3 and then maybe won a game in Knoxville, who knows where your seeding would have been.
You're at 16 and 14 in SEC play. That if nothing else, I can definitively sit here and say you're in the tournament.
You solidified probably hosting.
Probably.
To have a winning record in the SEC and to go 3-3 against 2 teams in the top 5 RPI.
Yep.
You would have been hosting. You would have solidified the fact, no matter what you did this week. And now you're teetering. And you are. And look, I get the whole thing. Yeah, but Georgia and Tennessee are really good. I agree, they are. But you want to be really good too.
Sure.
And being really good means looking like you're competitive. And there were times in the last 2 weekends this team did not look competitive. And that's the issue. I mean, you should have won that third game against Georgia if your bullpen holds it together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you had opportunity in these 3 games against Tennessee to get one. You had a chance to get one. Now, we can sit here and talk about questionable pitching decisions on who you keep in, who you take out, whatever the case, who you use coming out of the pen, all that stuff. I get it. And I'm not saying it's wrong to question that. No, I fully see those questions, right?
Sure.
But at the end of the day, there's no reason why you couldn't have won 2 out of these 6 games. That's the issue.
Right.
And now you're going to play tomorrow against a team. By the way, that 3-game series was wild, man. In Tuscaloosa, that was a crazy 3-game series.
You, by the skin of your teeth, avoided getting swept. You almost blew a 5-run lead in the 9th inning of that one because Bama scored all those runs in the top of the 9th, and you escaped there with the 1-run victory in game number 3. But that also almost went the other way.
Well, think about it, Tyler. You could make an argument that you could have swept that series and got swept in that series. That was a crazy series.
That is very true.
You blew a lead late in game 1. You came back and tied the game in game 2 and then gave up a billion runs in the 8th inning. Game 3, you came back from being down, got the big lead, and then barely by your fingernails held on to win 9-8 because Talmadge LeCroy made that heads-up play to throw behind the runner and get the tag out.
Right.
If not, you might have been tied going into extras, like you said, with the chance to get swept.
Right.
That series was nutty. So what's going to happen tomorrow?
Who knows?
No idea. But that's kind of been the season for this team, right?
Sure.
1 minute, they look like world beaters. Next minute, ugh. I mean, you beat North Carolina. You took 2 out of 3 from Kentucky. That's really good stuff there against teams that are
10 RPI teams.
2 top 7 RPI teams.
Yep.
But then you got swept by Georgia, you got swept by Tennessee. The Georgia sweep was here. So, and again, against these other teams, you lost 2 out of 3 to A&M. You lost 2 out of 3 to Arkansas. I think you and I added it up, and we didn't have to use our smartphones. What was it, 5-13 against the top 7 RPI? Is that what we came up with today?
I believe so.
Look, it's not good. That's not good enough. It's just not. And it's great to play tough competition, but at some point you got to beat tough competition. And right now I'm just talking about this year right now. I'm not talking about the future, the past, or anything. I'm focusing on what's going on today. 5-13 against the top 7 RPI is just flat out not good enough if you want to be competitive on the A level.
Yeah.
You got to be better than that.
Well, and it kind of goes back to what we've kind of been tracking this entire season, where we look at the RPI and all these metrics and stuff like that, that's telling us this team is a whole lot better than what we see with the eye test. And that's kind of been the sentiment all season long. And, we've said, why is the fan base so down on this team? Because when you watch them play, they don't look as good as they're being told that they should be.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that RPI and stuff, that's what's going to save them in terms of making the tournament. But I don't have confidence, no matter where they go, what seed they end up being. I don't really have any confidence they're going to be able to make it out of whatever regional they get sent off to.
And I saw this today. What is it? No SEC team with 13 wins and top 30 RPI has ever been left out of the tournament.
That is true. But
again, that's South Carolina's. You're holding on to that, right?
Yeah.
You're holding on to that one, but
at the same time, no conference has gotten more than 10 teams in.
And here's my next question. Help me with this.
Yeah.
Has any team ever been selected for the NCAA tournament if they were on a 7-game losing streak?
I don't know. That's a good question. But I can tell you this, no conference has gotten more than 10 teams in. SC has 6 locks, 6 guarantees. You have 5 teams with the exact same record, all in the top 30 in RPI. Good chance one of those teams gets left out, and all that's going to be determined on what happens in Hoover.
Okay, so let's look at this now, because I know for a fact that the 4 teams, well, really, you throw in 5 with Vandy, obviously. Vandy, Florida, LSU, South Carolina, Ole Miss.
Yep.
Everybody's almost playing. If you get eliminated, you're going to feel really nervous.
Yes.
I almost feel like I know Florida's has got some skins on the wall, but that overall record goes, but they're still in the conversation, right?
Right.
So you got Vandy and Florida going at it in Game 3, the 8-9. Winner has a chance to still make the NCAAs. I think the loser most likely is going to be really sweating it out. But same thing with LSU, South Carolina, and Ole Miss.
Yep.
and the Gamecocks have put themselves in this position over the last 2 weekends. And it's an official. You know you're an official slump when you go to this old baseball cliche. Well, when you hit, you don't pitch, and when you pitch, you don't hit.
Right.
And that's what we've seen. Saturday, you pitched well enough to win. You gave up 4 runs, and really 2 of them were because your defense was leaky.
Yep.
You pitched well enough to win that game, and you scored 1 run. But then in game 1, you hit well enough to win, and what happened? You didn't pitch well enough. So, and in game 2, you had a lead early, and then you gave that up. And you know what also is sad? And when I was listening to Friday's game, as soon as Tennessee took the lead, I said it's over.
Yeah, no, and all those runs that come for you in the second inning. So the offense, yeah, I went over the numbers. I mean, Messina's the only one that had a good weekend overall, the only one to get hits in all 3 games. Like, you just had never had the confidence that the offense was going to be able to claw its way out of anything. And here's the thing. That's a good Tennessee pitching staff. Well, we're not saying that you should have gone out there and scored 10, 12 runs against them or anything like that, but you have the talent. You have the skill in this offense, as we've seen many times this year, to do better than putting together, 7 runs over the course of 3 games?
Right. I mean, but that's what's going on here. All their metrics, they're above average team, yes. All their metrics are middle of the pack in everything, mediocre. Whether it's ERA, offensive stats, other pitching stats, everything is in the middle of the pack, right?
Right.
That's who they are. They're above average, but they're not wow. Again, the body of work says they're going to be in like a 3 seed. That's what it feels like, the body of work. But
Sure.
Look, let's be real here. Human beings put together this committee.
They do.
And if South Carolina loses tomorrow and you're sitting on a 7-game losing streak, human beings might not look at you favorably, no matter what your metrics say.
And I can't blame them for that, because you've given them nothing to go off of.
You've opened the door for this.
That metric should not be the end-all be-all, but we as humans cannot help but look at where somebody stands as of right now. The what have you done for me lately, the last 10 games, however you want to phrase it, does matter. How much it matters, I don't know. I think it matters more to some teams than others, but when you look at Carolina potentially entering the throwing their hat in the ring for the tournament on a 7-game losing streak, that's really hard to look at and say, yeah, I think this is legitimately one of the best 64 teams in the country right now.
Well, you hear that's the other one, right? If you just said to me, Terry, you think they're one of the 64 best teams in the country? Sure they are. It's a no-brainer. But do they deserve to be in? That's another conversation. That depends on if you're on the body of work side,
right,
or if you're on the side of, and if they do lose tomorrow, wow, you have a 7-game losing streak.
Yeah.
I think if you win tomorrow, all this conversation goes away.
Yeah, that gets you to 14 wins. That gets you into the second round, so you're playing at least one more game. Or no, 2 more games. You're
in double elimination.
Yeah, so you're playing 2 more games there. So I think that will be enough to kind of clear the bar. But man, if you lose tomorrow, I'm nervous. I'll say that much.
Yeah, I think there's a legitimate reason to be nervous. All right, and we will have the game tomorrow. 1:15, our coverage gets starting for the SEC tournament in Hoover, taking on Alabama, which should be quite interesting. Again, 1:15 pregame, 1:30 first pitch, roughly, because against a tournament, everything's fluid. But our coverage does start at 1:15 from Hoover with Derek and Stewart as the SEC tournament gets underway. And if they do win, Carolina, then we will have a game Wednesday. Same start time for our coverage, 1:15, as South Carolina will get into the double elimination round, and they would start off against Arkansas. I will get back in here, hear Coach Kingston, some of his comments about the weekend. We're going to go there next. Halftime show, Terry Ford, Tyler Head, till 3 on the game. Halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head hanging until 3 here on the game. Appreciate you if you're in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, wherever you're at. Thanks for checking us out and spending a little time with us. We are talking a ton, obviously, about Carolina baseball tomorrow in Hoover. Single elimination phase, Gamecocks and Crimson Tide of Alabama. Earlier this year in Tuscaloosa, Bama took 2 out of 3 from South Carolina. But a series, to be fair, Alabama could have swept. South Carolina could have swept. It was just a goofy back-and-forth roller coaster. But the Tide, again, made the plays, needed to be made to win 2 out of the 3, which really has been the theme this year with South Carolina. Up until, the Georgia and Tennessee series, South Carolina, even when they were losing, most of those games, Tyler, were, okay, here's a moment in the game. If you make a play, you can post a W, but they just didn't make the play the other team did, and the opposition would get the W.
Right.
But now we focus on what happened on Friday with South Carolina. Okay, you were sitting around. All right, what do you let's get to that situation, Tyler. No, that's I want Saturday is what I want, because that's where things got away from you. You had the lead early, and it got away from you. You got a lead, and then here comes Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, the decisions you make, who you go to, who you don't go to. Now, in the big picture, it can matter. And if we go back to that game, and my box score is not kicking for me, give me a second, because I want to get this exactly correct to where we're going. All right, let me get to the box score. All right, we fast forward to, let's see, you got 3-0 South Carolina.
So we're talking Friday. Game 2. Yep.
3-0 South Carolina, 7th inning.
Yep.
Garrett Gainey has been masterful, right?
Mm-hmm.
Masterful. After 5. Gets into the 6th inning. All of a sudden, here's trouble. Jake McCoy comes in. He doesn't put the fire out. Parker Malott comes in. He doesn't put the fire out. Before it's all said and done, Tennessee in that inning puts up a 4 spot in the 6th. Also, they put a 4 spot in the 7th on you. A 3-0 lead becomes 8-3 using those combination of relievers after Garrett Gainey.
And Marlott, he gave up the grand slam right after he came in.
So the question was, well, where was Chris Veach?
Mm-hmm.
And let's hear. And we'll give our thoughts in a second. Let's get Coach Kingston. Cut 5, not using Chris Veach in that key area of the baseball game.
3 to 6 outs today. It's just we've been getting deep in games with leads and we've been blowing them, and we just wanted to make sure that a veteran would get the last 3 to 6 outs. So he was available, he was ready, but we wanted to save him for later in the game, because you got to get 27 outs one way or another, and you need veterans that have gotten the last 3 outs, which are the hardest to get. We wanted to save him for this.
Okay, I get it. I do. Now, I lived this in 2016 with the Orioles.
Mm-hmm.
They were in the wild card round. And this isn't the same, because this isn't single elimination, do or die, your season's over. But the Orioles are in the wild card round. Zach Britton that year had a historic season as a closer for the Orioles. Really should have been the Cy Young Award winner in the American League. You are in a single elimination, basically Game 7, do or die.
Yep.
Buck Showalter saved Britton for the save situation that never came up. So arguably the best pitcher in the American League stood in the bullpen holding a baseball.
Yep.
And never came in the game. And you lost.
Right.
Because you were bringing others. You were saving Zach Britton for what could be, right?
This perfect setup of, okay, when this scenario plays out, then he'll come in and then he'll save the day. And I get what Kingston is saying, but it was my understanding, we talked about this on Friday or on Thursday when we found out, Ty Good was your only guaranteed starter for the weekend. On Thursday, that meant all hands on deck, and you were going to do whatever you needed to do over the course of the rest of the weekend to make sure that you won at least one game. Like, again, if you win one game, then that does a lot for you. I think guarantees you a spot in the field of 64 as of right now. And you have a scenario on Friday night where at that point you were down 1 run. It was 4-3. You could have brought him in to at least hold things where they were. And then you're talking about, okay, can we find 2 runs somewhere to get back in the lead? And then he continues to lock things down. Like, we're not the only ones. Everybody's kind of disagreeing with this decision. I don't get that. And again, saving him for a game 3 that was already out of hand when he got in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess I look at where I see this is I understand Coach. I get what he's saying, right? No one's saying that is stupid strategy at all. I get the strategy.
Right.
But to me, the field to me is you got to get a W. You got to get a W. Because a W is good for a multitude of reasons, right? Sure. It's not single elimination do or die, but if you get a W, everybody can breathe. Your postseason is pretty much set to where it's going to be. At the very least, you know you're in.
Right.
And you've got a scuffling baseball team. They're not scuffling anymore. And then who knows what happens in game 3. So you're sitting in that inning, and you had the lead, and Garrett Gainey's been phenomenal, right?
Yep.
So you get the 2 outs, and then Amick gets the knock. Dreiling also gets a knock. It feels like, ooh, right? So do you bring in Veach right there? Because you're still in the lead.
Yeah.
Now, Dreiling, then after that, Ensley hits the home run, right?
That's where you go behind.
And now you're behind. And even right there, do you want to bring Veach in to hold it at 4-3? One way, shape, or form, if it's me, I'm almost managing this game like there is no tomorrow.
Yeah.
I've got a lead. I'm feeling good. We're in the late innings. For me, and this isn't second guess, I was sitting there into the game going, Gainey gave you 5 2/3, but you got Amick with a knock. Dreiling's got a knock. Gainey's only had one other start this year. You got to bring in Veach because you want to hold it right here. You want your veteran to come in and hold the game right there. Then he was going to come in. He's going to look. I get it. He then comes in and he throws the 7th. And let's say he gives you zeros there. Now you still have the lead. And yeah, you might have to go away from Veach. I get it. And now you're hoping. But what good does Veach do you if you can't get to Veach? I would rather Tyler always in a gunfight have an empty magazine.
Yeah, just know you took your shot.
I took my shot. So that's where I'll disagree. Veach for me was, look, Gainey is only a second start. He gave you 5 wonderful innings. I totally agree with bringing him out for the 6th. He got 2 outs.
Sure.
But then 2 knocks. It's time. You're struggling. You got the lead. You don't want to give the lead up. I might even look at Veach and, hey, Bub, can you go give me the 8th if you get me through the 7th?
Right.
I just feel like managing is so fluid, in my opinion, on how you handle a pitching staff. And sometimes you got to change up because the moment screams it's time for this.
Yeah.
Now, that strategy that Mark had will work in a lot of instances. Let's say you were on a 4-game winning streak, Tyler. Then guess what? And it's not the end of the year. Let's say it's midseason.
Yeah.
You're a 4-game win streak. Then doing what you did and holding, I totally get it.
We're talking about it from the standpoint of, I probably would have done something else, but it's not as detrimental as it seems now. Because, again, that one win holds a lot of weight here if you were able to pull that off.
And I guess that's where, because Mark would say to you, you can't manage or coach like that. You've got to be consistent in how you set this up. And that's just another way to do it. So no, I'm not sitting here saying he's wrong because he's not in his strategy. But for me, I need a W.
Right.
Because I feel it, right? I feel my team needs a W. We need a W. We got to win a game. And once we get that win, we can all breathe. We can all take a pause. And then we can move forward.
Right.
So right there, I would have brought Veach in after the 2nd hit. And at the very latest where you brought it up.
Yep.
All right, so we'll get back into hearing more from Coach. And he talked about keeping Gainey in. And we'll get into that as well. Because, again, it's another piece of strategy that when things don't work, guess what? It was bad. Whether it was good or not, doesn't matter. It didn't work. All right, Terry Ford, Tyler Head. It's a halftime show. We're rolling until 3 on the game. What we're talking about is how things went Thursday, Friday, Saturday for the South Carolina baseball team in the sweep at the hands of Tennessee and Knoxville. Again, it was just when you're struggling, and, again, it's not deep and insightful, but when you're struggling, when you hit, you don't pitch. When you pitch, you don't hit. When you need your defense to be strong, it gets leaky in the worst possible scenario or moment. That's what happened. Like Saturday, your defense rears its ugly head, and 2 plays that should have been made aren't made, and that's 2 runs. So, and it hasn't really hurt you, your new shuffled alignments. But, it got you.
Right.
And Saturday you had a lead, Friday you had a lead, and you gave it up. You had a real good start from Garrett Gainey, and then the bullpen couldn't hold, and Gainey kind of ran out of gas. And Ty Good just didn't look like he was comfortable at all on Thursday.
I don't know if it was...
That mound's different.
The mound's different. You're on the road, the number 1 team in the country. That's a hostile environment. There are certainly a lot of things playing against Ty Good, but I think we all expected a little bit better because he's done a solid job in that, role coming in after Kimball on game number 1 over the past few weeks. So it didn't seem like it was that big of a difference moving him up to being the starter, but things got sideways there. Saturday you held Tennessee to 4 runs, so that's something. But still, going into, again, assuming they're going to be in the NCAA tournament, I don't really know, outside of Gainey, I don't know where you hang your hat on this pitching staff right now because you need more than 1 pitcher to get yourself through a tournament. And if the only reliable thing you can say is, all right, well, Gainey's going to be able to give us probably 5 good innings and nothing past that, I don't know where the optimism is.
It's tough because it feels like watching this team, if they make it into the NCAAs, like you just said, it doesn't feel like you have the pitching to do much damage.
Right.
Whether it's you're just going to get knocked out quick or you can win a game, maybe hang out a bit. But at some point, the lack of depth, especially with your starting pitching, consistent depth of quality outings is going to get you. Because, again, right now you've got this weird bill. It's good in a perfect world is coming in and being your long guy or your middle inning guy, right?
Right.
And you looked at Gainey as your closer to start the year.
Which he was doing fine with.
And yeah, he was fine. You can see the arm talent, and he was your closer. Veach was a guy that closed for you last year who now is in your setup leverage role. But then, because your starters, I don't know what happened with Matthew Becker. That one's, I don't know. All of a sudden, he went from a guy that started at the end of last year, and he was fine. He was okay. He held his own, to a guy that started the year coming in kind of being Ty Good in some ways.
Right.
Then disappeared. I thought he went on one of those like missions. I was like, where is he? Study abroad. And there's the programs where you study abroad.
Yeah.
I thought he was studying abroad. I don't know what happened to him. And then so Becker went out of the picture. And you were using a lot of younger, unproven guys. And then you got to that in that 3-game set, and you're using some of these younger, more unproven talents, and all of a sudden you're changing roles where now Good's got to start because Roman Kimball can't give you consistency. And now you have to put Gainey into the rotation because of your starting pitching problems. Gainey, who started before he came here at times, you put him back up there because really it looks like he's got the best arm talent of your veteran-type guys anyway. So everything just got discombobulated. So that leaves you in the situation you were in the 6th inning. So Gainey, he gets an out, gives up. Everybody gave up a home run to Christian Moore. The guy was ridiculous. So you get the first out. Moore goes yard. You get Burke on a ground ball. Now you have 2 outs and the bases empty, and you have the lead still at 3-1, correct?
Right.
Amick gets a knock. Dreiling gets a knock. Ensley then goes yard. And now you're down. Again, now let's do hindsight second-guess game. I had no issue with Gainey coming back out for the 6th.
Right.
At all. I was like, I'd bring him back out too. and he got the first 2 outs. I mean, no, 2 of the first, he gave up the home run to Moore. But once they've dinged him, and you do have 2 outs, I know you just want to see if he can get out of the inning. Amick gets the knock. Now, if you want to leave him, now that's where I get to one more batter mode for me. That's where I was watching the game going, okay, one more batter. And once Dreiling got the hit, then it's like, time to go. Because now it's getting dicey. And there was questions to Coach about keeping Gainey in the game. This is, you go to cut 4, Tyler, Mark Kingston talking about this whole scenario that we're getting into right now with Ty Gainey staying in the game.
We said we had guys ready to bullpen. Garrett is our best pitcher, plain and simple. Garrett's our best pitcher, and those were his runners, and I felt he deserved to pitch his way out of it. He actually made a good pitch. That was going to be his last hitter, and he was still 94. He knew that was his last hitter. He was able to reach back, and he was 94 that entire at bat. He made some great pitches. The guy took a great swing on a tough pitch, up and in on the zone. You know what? You got to tip your cap, but Garrett Gainey's our best pitcher, and he deserved to be a number 1.
And I understand that. I do. You want to keep him in to let him finish what he started. I mean, he was up to 93 pitches. You know, he finished with 93 pitches. Now, for a guy who hasn't started but 1 game all year, you can make that argument of, that's a lot of pitches. But I get what Mark's saying. Again, the only reason any of this is wrong is when it doesn't work.
Right.
And what Mark says, again, it makes sense. Oh, he's your best pitcher right now. You want to leave your best pitcher in the game to get himself out of it. He was still throwing mid-90s. And really, the pitch that Ensley hit out the yard wasn't a bad pitch. It's just the hitter won and your pitcher lost, right?
Yep.
I understand all of it. No one's sitting here saying, Mark, you made the wrong choice. Because it's sound strategy. Say it with me, Tyler, if it works.
Yes.
It didn't work, so it's not sound strategy. My idea, let's go with my idea for a minute. Let's say once you get the second base hit, you bring in Veach, and Veach gives up a 3-run bomb. Then guess what? Tear's strategy, no matter how sound I might try to make it, doesn't work.
And it's easy to play Monday morning quarterback, Monday morning baseball manager, whatever phrase you want to use there. But the fact that Veach was probably your best option, and you did not use him, we're always going to be left to wonder what could have been there. Now, does it change anything? I don't know. But we're never going to know because we never got to see it.
Exactly. If you use Veach at that point and you bring him in with a 3-1 lead and he gets out of it, yeah, I know, you still got to piece it together. I get it. But I would rather take care of the now, hold on to my lead, and then figure it out with Veach.
Right.
So, again, all this is just, this is what we do in sports. I would have done that. I would have done this. Well, I wouldn't have done what you did. I'd have done something else. And when your strategy works, then it was the right strategy. Unfortunately for Coach, that inning didn't work. Kept Gainey in, didn't use Veach. Neither scenario played out, and then you sit and have these conversations.
Right.
So, but all we know is it leads to getting swept in Knoxville on a 6-game losing streak, going into a game tomorrow that's single elimination. And I will say this, if it were me, and it's not, I'm managing this. I am, because it's single elimination. I'm not taking anything for granted. I'm in the NCAAs.
Your back is completely up against the wall. You got to put your best. Now, because Gainey threw 93 pitches on Friday, I'm assuming he would not be ready to go for tomorrow.
Yeah, he's on 4 days.
4 days.
Won't see that, no.
You could go good. You didn't have anybody go past 40 pitches on Saturday, so you have a lot of options here. Now, again, what's your best option right now? I really don't know. Do you go Eli Jones? He's been scuffling in his past couple of outings. Didn't look all that great on Saturday. I mean, I'm kind of shrugging my shoulders here.
Right, I'll throw you if you want to go outside the box. And depending on how he's feeling, do you just have Gainey be your opener? Do you give him 2 innings just to kind of set the table?
You know, he's probably going to give you 2 solid innings and then kind of figure it out from there. But again, it's all hands on deck. If you have the option to use a better guy, a Veach or whoever it may be, use them because you are not guaranteed tomorrow.
No. Do you go back to your Saturday formula? Everybody's got 2 innings in them. Who knows?
I don't know.
All right, we will have it tomorrow at 1:15. Again, our coverage begins here on the game. Craft beer cards back, $30 a brewery, 12 craft beer locations, $360 value. Yours for only $79. Go to 1075thegame.com, click on Sweet Deals. Come back. Our Firehouse sub text the hour at 803-404-6100 is next on the halftime show with Terry Ford and Tyler Head on the game. Let's just roll some Ramones.
Maybe that'll put people in a better mood.
Ramones always put you in a better mood.
Sure.
Well, me. I love the Ramones. Hey, give me. I saw some kid the other day, probably 13 wearing a Ramones t-shirt. Just walked up out of nowhere and gave him a fist bump.
Now, you're not the person that's like, name 4 of their albums.
No, I'm just happy he's wearing the shirt. I saw some girl. I was at the gym, just running around the basketball court, remind myself how awful and way out of my prime I am.
Yeah.
And some girl was wearing a Nirvana shirt. She might have been 14.
Yeah.
I was like, name where Kurt Cobain's from. What do you know about Nirvana? And I was like, that's kind of cool. 14-year-olds wearing Nirvana. And I wasn't, look, Nirvana was fine.
Sure.
Were they like my favorite band in the world? No. I think they were. Did I respect the skill? Yeah. Were they my cup of. There were other bands from that grungy Seattle area that I liked more.
Right.
But that Nirvana was fine, but it wasn't like I was a Nirvana freak like there were a lot of people were at that time.
Sure.
But it was cool to see this girl wearing a Nirvana shirt. I'm like, that's kind of cool. She's 14 wearing a Nirvana shirt. Excellent.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things, like, just let people enjoy things.
Yeah.
You don't have to, like, one of my friends put a picture on Instagram, and he was wearing a Cardinals hat, like St. Louis Cardinals hat. I know he knows nothing about the St. Louis Cardinals or Major League Baseball for that reason. But I'm like, he likes the hat. That's cool.
That's fine. There doesn't have to be a thing. You don't have to take a test to buy the hat or to get the shirt. Oh, wait a minute, you want a Nirvana shirt? Okay, who's in the band? Can you name me the people in the band? Okay, one guy in the band was a drummer in that band, and now he has his own band. Can you name me that guy?
And name 4 of their albums.
Yes, and name the name of their
and
band.
which of their songs are my top 5? Tell me that before I can give you this shirt.
Right. But I do love people who get that deep in the weeds on that stuff.
It's like, it's just if people want to, as long as they're not hurting you
who cares?
or harming people, just let them have fun. Who cares?
I told you my Sublime story with my Sublime shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. I think it's the whiskey, Sublime at the whiskey back in the 90s, and I like Sublime.
Yeah.
And the guy came up to me going, wow, were you there?
Yeah.
Yep, I was. Man, how cool was that show? Phenomenal. I can't describe it to you. There's not words. He's like, and he walks up to his wife and goes, honey, he was at a Sublime show at the whiskey.
It was like I blacked out and I don't remember a thing.
And that guy's day was made. He was the happiest dude in the world.
Well, you know what he did? He probably went home and found the pictures that he took from the show and found you in those pictures. Like, there he is. There he is.
I know. It was just, but I didn't want to ruin the guy's, the guy had the mojo going. I want him to feel good.
How is he going to prove to you that you weren't there?
Right. And plus, it doesn't matter. It just made him happy to talk about the show.
Exactly.
So I just went along with him.
Made his day.
And he was the happiest.
Whoever he chooses to tell about that is up to him.
Yep. But again, it wasn't like, let's have a Sublime competition.
Yeah. Just, you were there? Well, what song did they play third?
Yeah. And you remember.
What color T-shirt was the drummer wearing?
So people kill. For music, there's a crowd of that are music lovers.
There definitely is, where you have to prove how big of a fan of, like, if you like one song, if you just like one song of somebody, you can say, hey, I'm a fan of this person. I like this song. You don't have to know their entire discography.
Right. You don't need to know the deep cuts.
Yeah.
And like, again, I really like Sublime. Now, can I name you every Sublime song? Of course not.
That's okay.
But I like every Sublime song that I've ever heard or found to hear, I like.
I'm not like an album listener.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to sit down and listen to one full album of something. So people are like, well, hey, what'd you think of this album? Like, I don't know. I listened to like 2 or 3 songs of it, thought they were good, but I didn't listen to the whole thing.
Right.
What do you mean listen to the whole thing? I didn't want to listen to the whole thing. I found the songs I liked and I listened to those.
What's wrong with you?
Exactly. Like, that's how I take in music.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit. I can't deep dive every album that was ever made by this artist, but I know the 27 songs I've heard. I like 25 of them.
So you know what? If you gave me 10 more songs, probably going to like most of those too. The law of averages tells me I really like this band.
There's something about music lovers that's just, they're different, man.
They are.
All right, let's get to our Firehouse subtext. The hour 803-404-6100. What you got?
Well, I was trying to be cheerful here, but Albert says, coaching malpractice this past weekend, probably going to miss the tourney now outside of making crazy run in Hoover. Sad to see how far our baseball program has fallen in the past 5 to 10 years.
It just, again, when moves don't work, they're bad moves. That's the way it is. Is it fair? Of course not. Because every coach or manager I've ever talked to, Tyler, if something goes wrong, they can sit for 5 minutes and tell you why they did what they did.
Yep.
And it makes perfect sense.
Sure.
Almost all the time. Every now and then you walk away going, woo, Now, that didn't make a lot of sense, but okay. Almost all the time, when they tell it to you, you go, okay, I see the logic behind it. The move just didn't work. Every now and then it doesn't happen that way, but like with Buck Showalter, I mean, I get it. And the way you managed all regular season, you saved your closer for the save situation.
Right.
But guess what? This isn't the regular season. And you've got to understand that some games are more important than others near the end of the year, and you've got to understand I've got to be fluid here and my situation with my pitchers and all the other stuff. So that's just me. All right, we appreciate the text like always. We'll come back in here, football in the 1 o'clock hour here on the game.
Welcome back in. It is the halftime show. Tyler Head, Terry Ford along with you here on your Monday on the Game. We're a little over halfway through the month of May and checked the countdown over the weekend. Happy to report we are only 103 days away from Gamecock football kicking off the season to take on Old Dominion in week number 1, which means we're only 96 days away from actual college football being played in week 0. Georgia Tech and Florida State going to be playing over in Ireland on August the 24th. So we're getting closer. We're almost there. The 100 days is such an interesting countdown because I feel like the first 50-ish days go by really fast. Once you get into that last 50, that's when things start to slow down a little bit. But at least within those last 50 days, you have a lot of things happening within the football space that kind of help move those days along. You obviously have SEC Media Days coming up in early July. You'll have, obviously, the start of fall camp. You'll have NFL preseason, NFL camp, all that kind of stuff that's at least happening to be talked about, leading up to the start of the, leading up to the start of the football season. So it'll be here before we know it, and hopefully we are talking about a good 2024 for Gamecock football, because last year was a step back, as we've talked about many times. Not great, missing a bowl game, and Coach Beamer obviously took that to heart, and credit to him. Hats off of what they've been able to do so far this offseason as far as bringing in good guys in the portal, bringing in a good transfer class, and just as importantly, not losing anybody or not losing key contributors either, for the most part. I mean, you lost Juice Wells, Pup Howard, who was somebody you expected to be a key part of your linebacking room going forward, also left. But outside of that, you did not lose anybody you didn't lose too many guys of high significance to the transfer portal, which that in of itself is a big accomplishment, because it's just as important about who you keep as opposed to who you let go. So offseason's gone well. Again, 103 days until things kick off against Old Dominion, and hopefully things continue to go well for this Gamecock football team. We're talking about a more successful fall than we did last year.
Where are you at? I just came in.
Just 96 days away from football. Week 0, Florida State, Georgia Tech.
Boy.
Now are you? Wes is very much against week 0. He won't watch. He says it doesn't count. But to me, if there's football on TV, that counts. To me, there's only 96 days until college football starts.
No, I get Wes. I think week 0 is kind of silly, but I'm going to watch it.
It gives you something.
I'm going to watch it.
Football is the one sport. Like baseball's year round. Basketball never really seems to end. Football is the one sport where you are truly dying for it in the off season. You know what I mean? Like, you don't get oversaturated by it. We get into the middle of June and July, like, I need some football to watch. So if you give me any kind of appetizer the weekend before things really kick off, I'm going to take it. Yeah. I watched Notre Dame demolish Navy last year in a very uncompetitive game, but I watched the whole thing.
Sure, because you know why? It's football.
Exactly.
And that's why I get where Wes is going. I think week 0 is dumb, too, the premise of week 0, until I turn the TV on. I'm in. I'm in.
Listen, if the NFL ever goes to its 18th game, week 0 might become week 1, for being honest.
Well, you're going to have to do some tweaking because, look, we know it. It's not being transparent either. The NFL has decided, you know what, screw all of you. We're the NFL.
Yeah.
And like you brought it up last week about the college football playoff and the NFL. And the NFL is going to college football. Hey, guys, just want to give you a heads up. College football went, thanks, but we're good. Okay.
All right. We're going to roll out the Chiefs. We're going to roll out the Ravens, the Texans, and the Steelers. Have fun competing with that.
Yeah, go get them. Here we go. So that's just the NFL has looked at the NBA and said, we decided we had enough of you letting you have Christmas. We're now going to take Christmas, so you guys can kick rocks.
And look, they've been very kind to college football when it comes to scheduling and saying, you know what, Labor Day weekend, that's all yours.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that could change. Like you said, with another week of the season.
But by the way, you give the NFL another holiday that they can put 3 games on from noon until midnight, they're going to do it.
And look, to be honest, we all know this. The reason the NFL is kind to college football, it's a free farm system.
Absolutely. They don't have to do anything for it.
And you don't want to annoy the folks that are giving you the talent that runs your league.
Right.
So you're going to help them out. But I'll tell you, you're going to get less help when it comes to revenue and ratings. And the NFL said, you know what? We're a behemoth. Let's start being more behemoth-y because we can.
Well, it's not like you're suddenly going to stop getting talent from college football either.
It's not like college can tell you. Only thing they can do is if you really make, like sometimes you'll see this. And again, the big picture, it's nothing, but college can do very few things. You know, sometimes college football coaches will ban pro scouts off their campus for whatever reason, or certain teams, or whatever the case.
Right.
But then that cuts off your nose to spite your face, because then players aren't going to want to come play for you because you're not letting pro scouts on your campus.
Yep.
So guess what? You really don't win there either.
The NFL holds all the chips.
Yes. You know what you're holding?
In every scenario.
You know what you're holding? Like they have the deck. You know the rules card?
Yeah.
You're holding the rules card. That's what you're holding.
You got one joker. That's it.
Right.
Good luck.
Right. So that's just the reality. And going back to week 0, look, even though I think it's a dumb premise, I'm watching. I'm hoping that Georgia Tech, with the momentum they gained through the season, will give Florida State a game, because again, and Florida State's starting Uiagalelei.
Yeah.
I think he was better at Oregon State than he was at Clemson, and I think the DJU at Clemson, that was as much a Clemson problem as a Uiagalelei problem.
Yep.
But I saw way too much Oregon State last year because, Pac-12 after dark. That was a good football team. They could run the ball. They had weapons. But again, DJU, he's okay, but he's not great.
He was perfectly serviceable.
Yeah, but so when he goes to Florida State, he's not going to be Travis Jordan.
No. Jordan Travis.
Jordan Travis. I always do that for some reason. He's not Jordan Travis. He won't be. You're Travis Jordan. He'll be neither one of them, matter of fact.
Yeah.
And so I watched DJU going, all right, we'll see what Florida State's going to be with him behind the wheel. So maybe that might end up being a good game. I don't know. So I'm going to watch, even though I'm not crazy about week 0. I'm going to watch it. But Wes, you go get him, man. You lead the charge.
Well, fortunately, we'll have the video game coming out in the middle of the summer. That'll supplement us for a lot of the offseason. That's actually 2 months from yesterday.
June what?
July the 19th.
July the 19th?
That is a Friday. I know what I'll be doing that entire weekend.
You're gonna have both of your wrists will be in casts when you show up on Monday.
So here's the funny thing. I already have because I've been playing the previous game for a decade, because that's the last installment of it.
Right.
I've made it all the way. I'm on year whatever of my dynasty in there. I've made it to the national championship. I am saving that as my final time playing that game. It'll be my ceremonial curtain call for that game, and then I'll go buy the new one and play that. I already got this planned out.
You do, man. I'm giving you credit. You have already got your game plan set up.
I do. When you play one game for 10 years, grow an attachment to it.
Very nice. We're going to. Tyler did a great job of snagging all of the stuff from Andy Staples' podcast with the ceilings and the floors for all the teams in the SEC. We have done. Help me. We did Oklahoma.
Yes.
We did Tennessee.
Yep.
Obviously, we did South Carolina. I think that's it.
I think that's all that we've made it through so
So
far.
we're gonna roll off and hit some others. Or maybe we'll focus more on some of the teams that South Carolina has on the schedule. Like Kentucky will be the first SEC game. I think coming up next, let's hit Kentucky.
I think that might be the most important game on the entire schedule, to be honest with you.
That game, and look, I know that there are going to be teams better than we thought they were going to be in the season, worse than we thought they were going to be in the season. There are going to be certain games that we didn't think were going to be big, that are much bigger. Games we thought were going to be big aren't going to be as big. I get the whole thing. But that Kentucky game feels like a big game more than it's just your first SEC game.
Right.
It's a game on the schedule, on a very difficult schedule, even though it is in Lexington. Look, you won there 2 years ago. It looks like a game, and you won't be favored, by the way. You won't be favored, but it's a winnable game on your schedule that can help you get to bowl eligibility. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So let's hear about the Kentucky Wildcats as we come back in here on Football, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. We will get back into Kentucky and their floor and ceiling with Andy Staples on his podcast. Look, we're still doing this, by the way. The Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union Grand Slam giveaway marches on, Tyler. I believe we're at $1,350.
That's correct.
And we're going to keep going through the postseason. Now, I will say this. If we do not get a Grand Slam, we will then, on a day that we will tell you, have a grand prize drawing. Someone's going to win this bleeping money, dude.
Yes. So even nobody hits a Grand Slam, and for all intents and purposes, tomorrow could be the final game.
Could be.
Could be.
But if no one hits a slam this year for South Carolina, we're still giving away the money.
So you still want to be registered.
You still want to register. You go to 1075thegame.com. Again, you go to that little media reel flippy thingy. Once you see the Grand Slam giveaway, you click on it, you fill out the form. It takes you 12 seconds. Hit submit. Boom. There you go. You are in. That's how you do this. And again, it's up to $1,350. We'll see what happens tomorrow at Hoover. Hopefully somebody hits a slam, then we can give it away Wednesday morning on the early game at 7:30.
That might mean you actually win that game too, which is important.
That would be quite helpful. Hey, wouldn't that be the year? Wouldn't that be the way this season goes? We've gone through the entire regular season with no Grand Slam.
Right.
Then, in Hoover, you get a slam.
Sounds about right.
Sure. By the way, have you seen their record in Hoover?
South Carolina's? Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah, not very good. Just need one. Just get a win. Bag a win. That should make you breathe and get you ready for the NCAA tournament. All right, football. We will hear what Andy Staples and his crew on their On3 podcast said about the Kentucky Wildcats ceiling and floor. That's next on the Halftime Show with Terry Ford and Tyler Head as we roll till 3 on the game. Football, and more football here in the 1 o'clock hour on the game. Terry Ford, glad you could be hanging. Our buddy Tyler Head also with us. Of course, this is always sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Thanks for hanging. Whether you're in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, whether you're on the 107.5 The Game app, which you can download very easy on iTunes or Google Play, or you're hanging out with us on Game TV. What's happening? How you doing? Oh, there we go. Now we're in the camera. Hey, how you doing? What's happening? We appreciate you no matter what this afternoon. All right, so Andy Staples. I thought this was just a great. I didn't get to watch all of it, but I've gotten to watch a decent amount of it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was really good what they did on 3 with this ceiling floor, and they did it for every SEC team. Now let's concentrate on Kentucky. All right, so the Wildcats, obviously, new quarterback. You might have heard of him, Tyler Brock Vandegrift.
Yep.
A new offensive coordinator again. A guy with an interesting resume. But again, Liam Cohen had never been an OC in his life before a few years ago when he took over the offensive coordinator gig with the Wildcats.
Right.
It feels like Kentucky, this is just the way it feels, that Mark Stoops wants veteran transfer portal quarterbacks, guys who have been around. I mean, Vandegrift hasn't thrown that many passes, but he doesn't care. He's been around.
Yep.
Coming from a high pedigree program, obviously, at Georgia. Feels like that's the way Stoops wants to go. Being a defensive-minded coach, he wants a quarterback with some veteran skins out of the portal. Obviously, he just likes to. Do you think Liam Cohen's back in 26?
Based on how this has gone the past couple of years, I'd say that sounds about right.
Yeah. So let's hear what Andy Staples and his buds on 3 say about Kentucky's floor and ceiling.
Yep. Here's the thing: they're going to lose those teams. Like. That's the problem.
Yeah.
They're going to beat the teams they're supposed to beat probably, but they're not quite good enough to beat those other ones.
Yes. River, could you do me a favor and throw that schedule up for me, please? Because I think you look at this schedule, Andy, tell me if I'm wrong. They could go defeated on the road this year.
They
like,
could.
There's a
at
world
Ole Miss,
in which
at Florida, at Tennessee, at Texas. At Florida's the easiest, but the other ones are, ooh, boy.
That is a brutal slate. Like, I think there's a world in which this team can, like, pretty comfortably lose 5 games this year. And I say comfortably lose in the sense where you look at the matchup and you're like, well, they weren't supposed to win that one.
Okay. I've said this. Look, I like Mark Stoops. I think he's a solid football coach.
Sure.
To pretty good football coach. But Mark Stoops is also, I'm going to say this, he's a Hall of Fame football coach when it comes to reading the room.
For sure.
He took a gig at a basketball school.
Mm-hmm.
Knew that there was going to be a ton of patience because no one cares. As soon as Midnight Madness hits in Lexington, Kentucky, football does not exist.
Pretty much.
So you're going to get time and patience to build your program. It's not going to be after 2 years. You're not going to be on any hot seats. Stoops was kind of on a hot seat, and then the formula kicked in, right?
Well, God, he almost rolled that into a job at A&M last year.
Until the A&M people lost their minds.
Like this guy?
Him?
Him?
Well, does he understand? Whoa. We don't need 3 cupcakes in September and a 6-win bowl trip. We've already got that. We don't need that guy. And look, has Mark Stoops had a couple of 10-win seasons? Yes.
Sure.
Has he had a couple 8-win seasons? Sure. But Mark Stoops has built this formula. I'm going to eat 3 big cupcakes in September. I'll be 3-0, right? Then what do I have to do after that, Tyler?
Just find 3 more wins.
And if my team's better than average and I stumble into some more wins, oh well.
And to be specific, because they didn't mention it there in the cut, the ceiling that they have for Kentucky is 9-3, and the floor that they have is 6-6. So again, that falls right into the area of where we think Kentucky is most years. As you heard Andy Staples mention, they're going to beat the teams you expect them to beat. They might find, like, nobody thought they were going to be better than Florida last year. They beat Florida pretty handily, with Ray Davis. So that was a surprising win. But outside of that, they found a couple wins here and there. They made it to a bowl game, and everybody's satisfied.
But, Reddy, Florida wasn't worth a bleep last year.
They weren't.
Let's get that out of the way now. Kentucky beat a below-average Florida team. This wasn't...
Which we learned more about as the season went along.
Yeah.
We thought they may have been a little bit better at the beginning of the year. That wasn't the case.
Right. I mean, South Carolina, they're still kicking themselves across the street for blowing that game against Florida.
That should have been your bowl eligibility right there.
I mean, I keep saying this until proven otherwise. We've got to stop treating Florida like Urban Meyer and Tim Tebow and the ball coach are coming through the door.
And we all do it. And it's this preconceived notion because guess what? They're going to get hype going into every season based on whoever they brought in as a recruit, whoever they're bringing out of the transfer portal. Because Florida's just one of those names that's supposed to always be good. At least that's what we think.
Right.
And they haven't been in recent history, but we still have that preconceived notion like, oh, this is a team you should be worried about when that's not the case anymore.
Since Dan Mullen took McElwain's players and played for the SEC championship, Florida hasn't mattered. I mean,
No,
they're a below-average program. They just are. And until Sunbelt Billy can get it turned around, I'm rooting for him. I like Billy. I just don't think Napier's the guy for that job. And we'll see. That schedule's a bear again.
Well, looking at Kentucky's schedule, as they mentioned, they're going to beat the teams they're supposed to beat. Southern Miss in week number 1, Ohio in week 4, Vanderbilt. That shouldn't be a hard win. They got Murray State late in the season. All right, find your 5th and 6th wins. You know, the Carolina game, that could go either way. Florida.
At Florida could go either way. I think the rest of the teams on the schedule are better than Kentucky.
Yeah, they did find a way to beat Louisville last year, and they get them at home this year. What's Louisville going to look like after their strong season year to go? I don't know.
Now, they did have some, to be fair, Louisville had some turnover.
They did.
So I'll agree with you. I'll throw Louisville into this. There's your 6.
But they're not going to Texas and winning. They're not going to Neyland and winning. They're not going to go to Vaught Hemingway. They're not going to beat Georgia at home. They're probably not going to beat Auburn at home.
I look at it this way, and we go back to the original conversation. Your swing games are Louisville and South Carolina to get to 6.
And for both South Carolina and Kentucky, the importance of that game in week number 2, because Carolina, they're going to beat Old Dominion, at least they should. Kentucky's going to beat Southern Miss. Both those teams are going to look at that game in week number 2 and say, okay, the loser of this game should probably start to panic a little bit.
Well, here's the interesting part of both teams is South Carolina's like, we should be better than Kentucky. That's a basketball school.
Yes.
And then Kentucky started to have success against South Carolina, and Kentucky was like, well, we're better than South Carolina. Look what we've done to them lately. But the last 2 years, who's won?
South Carolina.
And really should have won 3 years ago because they had they did everything but win that game 3 years ago.
And both these programs point across the aisle at each other and say, well, we're similar, but we're better than them.
Right.
And that's the mindset is like, okay, if you lose this game, especially for South Carolina, who's got a bear of a schedule that we've talked about at length, if you lose this game against Kentucky, I start worrying about bowl eligibility in week number 2.
Because you sit and like you said, it's a tough schedule. It really is. And if you sit and look, and we've done it so many times, this schedule, you got LSU and Ole Miss, and also Alabama and Oklahoma. Think about that.
Yep.
4 teams that are looked at that should be double-digit win teams.
Right.
Those 4 you got. And then a team that was a double-digit 10-win team in Missouri is coming to your place. Then, of course, you go to Clemson. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, because you're going to beat Old Dominion. You're going to beat Akron. You're going to take out Wofford. You're going to beat Vandy. I don't care where that game is. So you got 4 right there in your pocket, I think.
Right.
Now you got to dig your other 2 up, and you're hoping Kentucky's one of them in week 2. Then you just got to get a poll. Is it going to be A&M at home? Could that be your one? I don't know, maybe. But this is a very difficult schedule, and the winnable games you have to win.
Right.
And Kentucky's a winnable game. And to your point, again, you don't panic and lose your mind, but you go, oh, that was one that was...
That was one of the ones.
That was a winnable one.
Not that it's easy, but it's one of the ones you felt comfortable saying that you could win.
And who knows? This is the great unknown of all this. Let's say Lenore Sellers does blow up into this, oh, my God, like a lot of people think he could. And now you've got this game changer at quarterback. Could there possibly be more W's on that schedule now that you've got a guy out there who is just making plays and, making this offense next level explosive, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, maybe you can beat this team you didn't think coming into the season you could beat, or that team. Sure, that could happen.
Right.
But until it does, it hasn't happened.
Yeah.
So that game in week 2 feels like something that
Very important.
you want to put that one in your pocket.
Yes.
And it is a winnable game in Lexington.
if Brock Vandegrift just happens to be the best quarterback we've ever seen, and he's just been this hidden gem for the past couple years at Georgia, then I think you got a chance.
Yeah.
But if he is just good, then I don't think he does enough. And they got talent. There's talent on this team, but I don't think it's enough to elevate them to the. Because look, 9-3, you're talking about knock on the door of the playoffs. In a 12-team playoff in the SEC, if you go 9-3, you're in consideration for one of those 12 spots.
All right, let's have some fun here real quick before we get out. Okay, let's go Southern Miss to win. Let's say you do beat South Carolina at home. You're going to lose to Georgia. That's 2-1. You'll beat Ohio 3-1. You're going to lose in Oxford.
Yep.
You'll beat Vanderbilt. That's 4-2. Let's just give you the Florida win for fun. That's 5.
Yep,
Auburn at home. I think Auburn's a better football team.
I do too.
5-3. At Tennessee, you're 5-4. Murray State, you win. You're 6-4. You're going to go to Texas and get beat 6-5. Let's just say I think their ceiling 7-5. Maybe 8 at tops if you find a way to beat Auburn.
Yeah.
But I think their floor is also 5 wins. Just
Very,
saying.
very possible. And again, that swinging game in week number 2, that goes a long way.
Yep. All right, there's our check on Kentucky. Thanks to our Andy Staple and our buddies at On 3. All right, football in the 1 o'clock hour here on the game. We will spin back into the world of football. A couple of questions that need to be answered in the offseason in college football. We'll grab a couple because, it is talking season, Tyler. Let's do some talking. That's next on the Halftime Show with Terry Ford and Tyler Head on the game. Kind of a groovy tune. All right, what we're talking about is football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Terry Ford, Tyler Head here on the game. All right, in a minute, we're going to get some sound. Jimbo Fisher on Sirius XM talking about how the FBS programs are becoming glorified junior colleges. Very interesting take from Jimbo Fisher. Are we prepared to hear from Jimbo Fisher at all?
Well, he's obviously not going to be coaching this fall, so he's got a lot of money and a lot of time to talk. So I have a feeling we're going to be hearing a lot of Jimbo's opinions this year.
We are, but I guess this is just after he just finished up at A&M and the way that went down.
Yep.
And how, let's just say it, how much of a failure that was. Because it was. I mean, you were paid a lot of money not to do what you did, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You were paid to play for championships, and you didn't.
Well, they gave him a plaque with the national championship on it. He just had to fill in the year.
And he did. 2055 or whatever it was, right?
Yeah, well, I guess he could theoretically have a second run there.
Sure. Well, it's A&M. It's almost like when Urban Meyer came back to TV after the debacle with Jacksonville. It's like, is he a smart guy and a sharp guy and knows football? Sure, but did you really want to hear from him at that point? Because, like, dude, I can't take you seriously right now because I just watched what you did in Jacksonville.
I can't listen to anything that Urban Meyer does. I don't watch Big Noon Saturday or any of that stuff. I can't listen to Urban Meyer.
And it's not that I don't think he knows football. Of course he does. I mean, he's wildly successful in college. But I watched that dumpster fire that he was a part of in Jacksonville that really he caused.
Yep.
And fair or not, it's like, man, just take some time, come back later.
Let us miss you a little bit first.
Right. Let the wound heal of what you did. The same thing with Jimbo. He could be saying something that's totally on point, and you're still like, eh.
Well, Jimbo, well, for one, he talks like an auctioneer. So
he never breathes. So we're going to get to that in a minute, and we're going to try to get to Jim Phillips, the ACC commissioner, on the impact of the lawsuits between Clemson and Florida State and what that's having on the conference. But first, really quick, off-season storylines. You got teams going into the Big Ten, the ACC, and the Big 12.
Yep.
And obviously two in the SEC that we've already talked about ad nauseum in Texas and Oklahoma. All right, these three teams, out of these teams, we're only going to do one conference a pop. Oregon, UCLA, Southern Cal, and Washington going into the Big Ten. Who do you think will have the best transition?
Oregon.
I do not disagree. I think Lanning has got them in a good spot. I like Dylan Gabriel as the quarterback. I think they will be the best out of the bunch in the Big Ten. Who will have the worst time? This is the easiest one of them all.
Ooh, UCLA.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, your head coach, one, his seat was so hot, and two, he had so little faith in you as a university that he could be successful and save his job, that he left a head coaching job in a power conference to go be an offensive coordinator.
And what's now a conference rival.
Yeah. Run that one through your head.
I know.
Yeah. So I'm with you. I think Oregon's going to be real. Plus, they got, their boy Phil Knight, who's going to just keep pumping money in the program. I think Oregon's going to be the best transition out of the crew. I think UCLA will struggle the most. I think Southern Cal will be number 2 because I don't know what UW's going to be under Jedd Fisch at this point. Jedd Fisch did a heck of a job at Arizona, but
I do think being a new regime coming into a strong conference like the Big Ten, I think UW might get knocked around a little bit this year.
Yeah, not to say Jedd Fisch won't be successful like he was at Arizona. He might be.
Sure.
But right now, I would put Southern Cal a little bit ahead of the curve on Lincoln Riley's third year. Lincoln went out and got a whole new defensive staff, bunch of defensive players.
He learned about that thing they do on the other side of the ball.
Yeah, you got to stop people at some point.
Oh, we can get the ball back.
Oh, interesting.
So we don't let them score.
Right.
Interesting.
Huh. I'll try
Alex,
it.
You never said we could do that.
All right, let's get to Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo was on Sirius XM and talked about most of the FBS programs are now going to become just glorified junior colleges because of obviously the transfer portal and NIL.
Here's what's happening. All your mid-majors and a lot of your even not mid-majors and some of these other, and I'm going to say ACC, Big 12, Old Pac-12, some of those leagues, they're becoming glorified junior colleges. And some of those teams used to battle for playoffs and have great teams because, all right, they took that 3-star guy or that 4-star guy you miss, and they developed him into a heck of a player, and he became a great player at their school. How about Patrick Mahomes at Texas Tech? Would he have ever stayed at Texas Tech? Somebody would have came and got him. You know what I'm saying? And what's happening, and then your halves are out there saying, okay, I need a corner, I need a tackle, and I need a running back. They have one, and they're going to these 4-year schools and just selecting, and those guys are really becoming glorified junior colleges, and it's a shame. And I mean great college football programs that have won big in the past and had tremendously great players, but that is what's changed. And I think if we don't even it out, I don't know what the answer is, but we got to cut to some parity somehow, some way. But it's pushing to exactly what you said. I don't know if it's 40 teams, 45, 50, 30. I don't think it's going to be as many as you think. That's the sad part. Because how many's in the Big Ten now? How many schools in the SEC is going to be what, 16? We were 14, going to be 16. Yeah. All right, how many's in the Big Ten?
I think it's 14 or 16. I think.
No, you got 18, don't you?
18. Wow.
Yeah.
18.
And so you're 32 to 34 teams, somewhere in that realm right now. And so, and that's probably why I would, it'd be interesting being in Amelia Island right now with Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina trying to get out. Those meetings over there are going real interesting right now. And I know why. Yeah. They want to be a half.
Right.
And listen, to go some history, EJ, when you were there, sometimes when I came back from those meetings, I was in a bad mood. I got into it with the commissioner over there trying to tell him this was coming, and they wouldn't listen to me.
Yeah.
We got into a couple of knockdown dragouts, and I was letting them know this is coming, and we weren't, in my opinion, weren't doing some of the things we need to do in that league to allow us, because at that time we were as good as anybody in the country. During our 8 years there, we were in the top 2 or 3 winning percentages in the country and winning and ready to win national championships. We won one and played for them. But I knew eventually it was snowballing because of what we were doing from a conference alignment. And it's even getting, that stretch is getting greater as we sit here.
I mean, Jimbo's not, God, I hate to say this. I mean, a lot of what he just said, he's not wrong. I felt weird. But anyway, I mean, there are mid-majors, FBS schools, lower mid-majors. They're going to become, junior colleges or farm teams for the power schools and the big dogs. That's just the way look, that's the reality of this. Look, but one thing Jimbo said about parity, college athletics never going to have parity. They're just not. I always say college athletics is more of the Major League Baseball model. There's no true salary caps. Everybody's on an even playing field. Revenue isn't evenly distributed. It's always going to be haves and have-nots. But now it feels like, some of those teams at the mid-major level and the lower mid-major level, it's going to be tougher you're going to be farther away because you're going to get poached. So it's really going to be tough to hold on to your players. You can do everything to try to hold on to them. Great atmosphere, great culture, winning, all these things. But then the big dog will come in with the big NIL deal, and you can't match it and see you bye. That's just reality. That's the world we're going into with college athletics. Everybody's saying, well, look at the parity in college basketball. That's because of the transfer portal and NIL. I don't disagree with that, but college basketball is a whole different model than college football. It just is. In college basketball, like Florida Atlantic, that can grow in a variety of ways. You can grab, some 4-star kid who fell through the cracks for whatever reason, and now he's playing ball for you and he pops. Now you're going to have a short window with him because he could take off with NIL back up to the powers. Or you just keep your team together and they grow and develop, and then they pop. And then good luck keeping them. Now, Florida Atlantic did keep their players, but they underachieved this year compared to the year before. But I just think it's going to be very difficult for mid-major football programs when they have high-level guys to keep. Look, James Madison lost Juice Wells. You see how that went. And that obviously going all over the country. So Jimbo's not wrong about it. I love how Jimbo puffed his chest. I saw this coming. I told the ACC years ago this was going to be coming. This was going to happen. Let me tell you how smart I am. Sit on down, everybody. Let me tell you how smart I am. But if Jimbo did do that, once again, he's like Nostradamus. Why couldn't he predict what happened at A&M? But, the ACC, that's... And we won't get to the Jim Phillips cut. We'll save it and get to it. Maybe we'll get to it during what's trending at 2. But to the point, when you panic and sign agreements because you're scared of doomsday, sometimes those panicking moments will bite you in the tail. That's what's going on in the ACC. All right, our Firehouse Sub text, the hour 803-404-6100 is coming up next here on the Halftime Show. Terry Ford and Tyler Head, glad you could be hanging with us as we go till 3 on the game. Time for our Firehouse Sub text the hour at 803-404-6100. What do you got there, Tyler Head?
Reference to baseball, Curtis says, well, at least they have the nobody believes we can win except the guys in the room, and our backs are against the wall, and playing against a team as desperate as you are to get a win and fighting for your postseason life. So, yeah, they can play that card all they want.
Curtis, you are correct, sir. I'll give you the other one, too. It's 0-0.
It is, yeah.
You got that one, too.
At this point, you have to look at every single game as fighting for your life.
Right.
Because, again, I think they're good enough to be in the tournament no matter what happens tomorrow, but I wouldn't bet a lot of money on it.
No, because like we talked about in the first hour of the show, body of work, top 30 RPI, 13 wins. That typically gets you in the dance if you're an SEC team.
Usually does.
But if you lose tomorrow and you're on a 7-game losing streak, human beings are picking this thing.
Yep.
And I asked, I don't know. We'll have to do a little crack research. Has a team ever been invited to the NCAA tournament on a 7-game losing streak?
Not that I can recall. That's a tough ask.
So, I mean, just do yourself a favor, win this game.
By the way, we did learn about an hour ago, Dylan Eskew can get the start tomorrow night.
That makes sense.
Tomorrow morning, afternoon, whatever it is.
Matter of fact, and we will get to this in the next segment, trending at 2. Coach Kingston talking about starting SQ on Saturday. One thing I think I did hear him say, and maybe this is in the cut, that, Dylan's better starting. Some guys are better starting. Maybe Ty Moore, because he hasn't been starting. He's been coming into games as the long man off the opener.
Right.
Maybe he's just more comfortable being the long man off the opener. And now you're starting. Maybe it could have been the mound, whatever, but Ty Good did not look comfortable on Friday or Thursday at all. So we've talked about this with pitchers. Pitchers are creatures of habit. Pitchers like to know their roles in a perfect world. That just is who a lot of pitchers are. Now, I'm not sitting here saying, you shouldn't be able to go, hey, dude, buck it up. We need you to do this. We know you're doing that. We need you to do this because right now we're in trouble. But, when what Mark said, that SQ is just more comfortable starting. So you start him. It might be a 2 or 3 inning pop. Or you're just going until he puts a couple of base runners on.
Right.
Because like you said, you have to look at it like you're playing for your life because you truly don't know. If you lose this game, there's no guarantee you're in, even though the metrics say you should be.
Right.
A 7-game losing streak is not a wonderful resume builder. Just saying.
No, it is not.
So, again, this is one of those, it's not do or die, but it's in your best interest to win this baseball game.
And I feel like that almost, if nothing else, put you in the right type of mindset for the tournament as well. That if you're playing every game like it could be your last, then, I don't know if you make decisions differently, but maybe that's what this team needs to have a fire lit under. Because, again, you went into the Georgia series a couple weeks ago like, all right, you're a host. Now, yes, you knew you had to still win some games to continue to be a host, but you feel pretty safe about where you're at as far as the tournament goes. And now you're looking around saying, well, we don't know about that right now. Maybe this is the spark this team needs. And, again, Hoover has not historically been good to South Carolina, and I'm not expecting them to run the table and bring home a trophy on Sunday by any means, but if you could find a win or two over the next couple of days, that'd do a lot for you.
Yeah, Mike Uva put up a post, Gamecock Central, about South Carolina's record in the SEC tournament, second worst record behind Missouri.
Yep.
So South Carolina obviously has scuffled in the SEC tournament. Well, back in the day, it didn't matter because you're going to the NCAAs and you were really good and one of the best programs in America. So Hoover was like, whatever. But now, guess what? It's important.
Yes, it is.
And you need to pull a W tomorrow. And you should play like it's a do or die. I'll say this. We think in theory that should be a good thing because you should have your focus, the correct intensity level. All that should be sharp, right? Because your season's on the line.
Yep.
We'll see. This team at times in the last 2 weekends, and again, I know when you're losing, and maybe we're reading too much into it or looking for something that's not there. They look defeated at times the last 2 weekends. You see the home run that gives Tennessee a big lead. It felt like the whole air went out of that dugout.
Very deflating.
You saw some of the stuff that happened Saturday and the air goes out. You see Christian Moore hitting home runs his first 2 at-bats in the Thursday game. And you're like, ugh. And as a fan, you're feeling it. And look, a lot of times fans feel something players don't because it's a whole different mindset.
Sure.
But I try to think, all right, you've been scuffling. You're in slump mode where when you hit, you don't pitch. When you pitch, you don't hit. The worst possible things happen at the worst possible times. How much does that start to seep into a player's head? Because you always want to just say the next day's a new day. Next day's a new day.
Right.
But when you've been playing the way you've been playing lately,
it can set in. It can be a mindset.
It's the last thing you want is the, oh, God, here we go again philosophy.
For sure.
Appreciate the text like always. Our Firehouse Subtext, the hour at 803-404-6100. We'll come back. What's trending at 2? What did Coach Kingston say about Dylan Eskew starting last Saturday? And what's his message to the team going into Hoover? And also, they were brawling in NASCAR. We'll get our NASCAR expert Tyler Head to give us some lowdown coming up on the halftime show. Halftime show, Terry Ford, Tyler Head. We're hanging here up until 3 here on the game. Then the post-game show with Jay and Elijah here on the game in Columbia, Florence, and Myrtle Beach. Also the 107.5 The Game app and the Game TV. Got a new haircut. I'm looking really good on the video. Extra little shine on the top of my head. Got my hairs trimmed.
I need to get my hair cut at some point this week. Do you want me to take some of mine that gets cut and
save it,
gift
and
it to you?
I want to slap a little Gorilla Glue on that.
Now we have different colored hair. That might look a little
just
funky.
blend it in. What I'll do is I'll get that just for men and color it all together. Yeah, I got these buddies who have full heads of hair. Hey, my hair's like going gray. I'm like, oh, you have hair. Shut up.
Well, see, here's the thing. When you do the like just for men or whatever kind of product you do to keep your hair color in, you have to do it as soon as you start going gray. Because you can't go from being like gray-headed on Friday to being brown or black on Monday. That's like, my dad worked with a guy that one time he's like, oh, this guy had a full head of white hair or whatever, and he comes back on Monday and it's just jet black.
Right. You can't do that. What you have to do, either that or you blend it in slowly.
Yeah, it's got to be a process.
Yeah, you just can't all of a sudden show up with hairspray head, like, that spray on hair.
You gotta make people get used to it a little bit. Like, oh, you used to be gray-headed, right? I don't know.
It's like when you lose your hair, and all of a sudden a dude goes and does the, Bosley or Hair Club for Men, or they get themselves a rug or whatever, and all of a sudden on Monday you're like, what the hell happened there?
Look, my cousin started going bald. He just shaved it all off. He's been bald ever since.
Look, I joke about it. I really don't care.
Yeah.
Just whatever. I got more things to deal with than worrying about my dome. If they came out with something that said it would grow your hair back gradually and it worked like 100%.
Sure.
And it wouldn't be goofy, it'd be your hair and it would grow back to a point. Would I listen to someone? Okay.
Sure.
But it's not like I lay awake at night going, oh my God. I have friends that drove them crazy.
Sure.
Me, I'm like, yeah, I had a good hair run. I had nice, again, I looked like I was in a band for like 25, 30 years. I had a good hair run.
Looked like a wild stallion.
Yeah, I got, by the way, somebody sent me my senior picture today from high school for fun.
Yeah.
It was a buddy of mine from high school. He has birthday. So I said, hey, happy birthday. And whatever. And he goes, hey, you'll get a kick out of this. I guess he went into our yearbook and snagged my senior picture and sent it to me. I showed it to Jeff Haley upstairs. He was like, that's you? I go, I know. It's kind of weird. You got the fake tux.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys did that.
Yeah, they just literally just put it on top of you.
The quarter tux.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're walking around in your shorts and your deck shoes and your quarter tux.
Yeah. Oh, I know. No, they still do that.
That's funny. They still do that.
Funny thing, I actually got an alert today. I graduated high school 10 years ago today.
Really?
Yeah.
Me too. So weird.
We sat next to each other at graduation.
Well, congratulations. You made it 10 years. Nice job.
I don't know how to feel about that, to be honest with you. There's some people because I'm friends with a lot of people on Facebook that I went to high school with that are trying to organize like the reunion. I'm like, I don't want to go to that.
You're not ready for that?
I have no interest in that. I can go see those people at Walmart in my hometown. You know what I mean?
See, mine's a little different vibe because my people are spread all over the place, a lot of them.
Well, most of the people I went to high school with are still in my hometown.
Well, it's only 10 years.
Even though 99% of them like, I can't wait to get out of this place. I hate this town. I can't wait I'm going to go off to here, there, and everywhere. And well, guess what? You're in the same place.
Well, it's funny because after 10 years, people still kind of hang sometimes.
Sure.
And then they start to kind of spread out as years go along.
Sure.
But yeah, it is funny. People go, I can't wait to get the hell out of here.
Oh, that was like the number one thing from where I'm from is everybody's
You're from a small town in Georgia. Is it a small town?
It's not really a small town. Got 100,000 people.
Okay, it's not small.
So it's not a small town, and like it's not a bad place to live. But everybody's like, oh, I can't wait to leave. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go there. And some people did, and good for them. I'm one of those people. But the people that were loudest about, ooh, I can't wait to leave, they're still there.
See, I like mine. I haven't been to the last couple of mine because just work or circumstances.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of mine are happening during football season.
I was like, no, of course not.
I couldn't go, like every year, a lot of the people I graduate, my buds, we get together at this one bar, neighborhood bar.
Yeah.
And I can't go the last couple of years because you know what we've been doing? Football season.
That's right.
Can't go.
See, anytime people, and it doesn't have to be a reunion, it can be a birthday party, it can be, especially weddings. I'm like, do y'all realize, like, this is a Saturday in October? What happens on Saturdays in October?
We can't show up.
Yeah. Like, is there going to be a TV there? Like, am I going to be at a, because I went to my wife's friend got married in October. It was the day of the South Carolina-Missouri game.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'll be able to, once I'm at the reception, I can check my phone and stuff like that. I can still keep up with what's going on. No signal and no Wi-Fi.
Of course.
I was completely in the dark for the entire day.
Drove
and
you nuts.
It felt weird.
Man, it is weird.
Because you get home that night and you're trying to first of all watch whatever's still on, but you're trying to catch up on everything that you missed. Like, oh my God, what happened there? Like you just feel completely out of it.
Yeah, I mean, it is bizarre, and because you're so locked in during football season, because we're locked in, especially like we were doing pregame last year.
Sure.
When you're doing pregame, because of all the stuff you got to know to be able to talk about. I mean, you're just locked in.
Yeah.
And that's why I can't unlock and like go to my big high school buds get together every September anymore. Now, when I'm in Baltimore, I could do it because I just drove to it and then drove home. But different animal now. I can't go.
Can we move this to July? Or
I know.
something?
I'm like, hey guys, anytime before late August would be really cool. I don't care if 50 of you can't do it then. I need it then.
I can.
It's about me.
Or all 50 of you come down here to me.
Exactly. Hey, you want to go to Myrtle Beach?
What's so hard about that?
I'll go to Myrtle Beach and hang out. Yeah. Do the stuff we did when we were 17 and 18 at the beach.
Well,
that'd be weird.
Yeah, that's might get you arrested.
Well, the things too when you did when you were younger, and people laughed at you. Now, once you get older, they don't laugh at you anymore. They're like,
no, they don't. They're
seriously?
like, yeah, there's a reason you did that when you were 21 because you were 21.
Right. Now you're not. What are you doing? You're an idiot.
And you're going to jail.
Yes, because it's not funny anymore, friend.
Say hi to Scheffler when you're there.
All right, so what's trending at 2, sponsored by Gamecock Traditions and Traditions Fine Jewelry. Obviously, South Carolina is what's trending with us. South Carolina baseball tomorrow, 1:15 coverage starts in Hoover at the SEC tournament. We know that Dylan Eskew will take the ball for South Carolina. How far will he go? I don't know. Could be an opener situation. Could be a legit, let's see how far you can take us into the game. We'll find out.
Given the fact that he opened on Saturday, I would imagine he's probably not going to. It'll probably be another like 2x2x2 type thing.
I feel like that's what's going to happen. I feel like it's going to be a 2-3 inning stint for Eskew, and then you go from there. So Dylan Eskew will take the ball tomorrow against Alabama. Again, it's fluid because it's a tournament. 1:30, 1:45, whatever start time. And if South Carolina wins, back on the air 1:15 on Wednesday against Arkansas. So that's kind of the spiel there. Here's Coach Kingston talking about Dylan Eskew. Matter of fact, Eskew starting on Saturday and putting together that 2-inning stint where really South Carolina did not pitch bad at all on Saturday, losing that game 4-1. A couple of those runs came in on some defensive plays that should have been made but weren't. So here is Coach Kingston talking about Dylan Eskew and his start on Saturday.
Eskew pitches better. Eskew pitches the best when he starts. He's just more comfortable there. That's the thing. A lot of our guys, just for whatever reason, some are more comfortable starting, some are more comfortable coming out of there. So that's how we made those decisions and all look pretty good out there.
Justin Timberlake made that a little bit hard to hear. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Love hearing Justin go, man.
Well, it's funny because this is obviously like not a joyous meeting with the media because you're coming off of getting swept once again, and you just have Timberlake blaring in the background with his upbeat music. It's just there's a I don't know, there's a picture to be painted there somewhere.
Yeah, you're trying to, especially you're trying to do this little presser thing or answer questions, and you got Justin Timberlake blasting. Look, again, Eskew is more comfortable starting.
Yeah,
we just talked about this.
But,
Maybe Ty Good's more comfortable not starting.
Eskew was your third guy for most of the season.
And it feels like, and there's been whisper that he is not healthy or 100%. So we'll see what happens. We feel like a 2 to 3 inning pop to start the game, just like Saturday.
And then at that point, go with whatever your next best option is. I don't care if that's Veach. If you want to throw Gainey out there, your back is up against the wall.
Do or die.
Just do or die.
All hands on deck. That's what's going on. There's no guarantee you're in the tournament if you lose this game. And then if you do lose this game, you're not in the tournament. This also leads to a lot of other questions that could arise with this baseball program.
Yes.
All right, let's get to Mark Kingston, coach's message to the team after what has happened in the last 2 weekends.
Well, the regular season's over. The new season starts. We've shown on most days we can go toe-to-toe with anybody, but we've got to get over that hump. I've said that a lot. That was a game today in the postseason. That was 2 good teams going
That's the message. You just gotta keep dancing.
It's got to What's the message? Here's your message. More Justin Timberlake. Woohoo!
Listen, for those that don't know, Coach Kingston does not do a formal press conference for the road games. He literally stands there at the edge of the dugout, answers about 3 questions. We do what we can. That's all the That's all the interviews we get from him in these road series. So sometimes, depending on the venue, there's a lot of other things happen. We had the dude with the leaf blower the other week.
That was good too.
The dude shouting about put your hood on the other day.
Right. Okay. Okay, out of the 3, which one's funnier?
Definitely that one.
But Justin Timberlake totally wins.
Because it is the complete 180 of the mood that Carolina has.
Right. You just got swept for the 2nd straight weekend. You got Justin Timberlake. Just dance.
It's one of those things that, like, if you're in the dugout and, like, you're tapping your foot, somebody will come smack you. Like, what's wrong with you? We just got swept.
But, man, dude, this is such.
No, it's my
I'm telling you,
song,
this is a
man.
banger, man. This is
No,
a banger.
it was in the Trolls movie. Did you see that? No, I didn't see that.
Oh, anyways, there's Coach Kingston. A couple of cuts after what happened in Knoxville. It's a good little laugh. Need one today. So, again, 1:15, everything gets started here in Columbia and in Myrtle Beach with South Carolina and Alabama. Single elimination, either move on or your season's over. I mean, your SEC-ish season is over.
Maybe.
And maybe your whole season is over. So we'll see if that starts up here 1:15 tomorrow. All right. Also, what's trending? Let's get to this one because this was very interesting.
Yep.
Typically, we don't hit a lot of NASCAR in what's trending at 2, especially this early in what's trending at 2. But we had a slobber knocker
We did. Nice little throwdown.
this weekend. And this was old school. I was ready for Cale Yarborough and Buddy Baker and Davey Allison and everybody to get into this one. Or Bobby Allison. So explain this, Tyler, what happened between Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Kyle Busch that led to... Now, I'm going to say this now, and then you can get into it. The sucker punch is unacceptable. Be a man. Be a man.
Is it a sucker punch if you're standing there talking to them, though, beforehand?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Because there was nothing, and I watched it a second time.
Yeah.
There was nothing in Ricky Stenhouse Jr.'s stance that said he was about to take that swing.
Yeah, I was a little surprised when he did, because, I mean, they were talking to each other for a while there, but this was at the All-Star race in North Wilkesboro last night, and they had a run-in early in the race. Busch got put 3 wide, kind of got ran into the wall. It wasn't really Ricky Stenhouse Jr.'s fault. He just happened to be the car on the inside. Busch took a exception, turned him into the wall, ended Stenhouse Jr.'s night. Funny thing about North Wilkesboro, there's no tunnels in or out. Okay. So Stenhouse Jr. is out of the race, standing in the infield, waiting for the race to be over so he can leave. He gets interviewed on TV. They're asking him, hey, what are you going to do? I'm going to wait around for him. And I will give him credit because he stood on business.
Yes, he did.
So many times guys will say, oh, I'm going to fight him. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And they never do a thing. He at least followed up on that. So I'll give him credit.
Yeah, look, I know Kyle Busch isn't the most lovable dude in the world of NASCAR. Even now he's getting older.
He's mellowed out.
But people still...
Here's the thing. I'm excited that the bad boy Kyle Busch is back because that's good for the sport.
Oh, the young Kyle Busch, who no one liked, but was winning and basically giving everybody the finger. He was interesting, dude.
I sent my friend a gift last night of the. Did you ever see the Spider-Man movie where Venom is taking over his body? It's like the black stuff that's just like crawling. I'm like, this is bad boy Kyle Busch returning, and we're all better off for it.
Yeah, it was interesting, and the sucker punch reminded me of my old neighborhood because. Look, where I'm from, there's no this hit me first. If you said hit me first, the guy would go, okay.
Yeah, and then
drop you.
Stenhouse Jr.'s dad caught a right hook on that one, too.
Yeah, family, like we were joking, family fights together. Grandma got into it, Uncle Edgar. Let's roll, baby. Let's roll. I will continue with what's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions here on the Halftime Show on the Game. What's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions here on the game. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, rolling till 3. Then Jay and Elijah will take over with the post-game show. And again, we appreciate you hanging out with us, whether it's Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, the 107.5 The Game app, Game TV, wherever you're at. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. All right. As we roll with what's trending at 2, Scotty Scheffler had quite the interesting weekend. Look, we don't want to get away from our buddy Xander.
Xander, what?
Souffle. Xander Schauffele, who won the PGA. I like to call him Souffle. That's what he should be saying. You spell that name, it should be Souffle.
Sure.
Xander Schauffele, look, I'll give him props for this. He has come up short time and time again at majors.
Mm-hmm.
Looked at as, quote-unquote, one of the best golfers not to win a major. Bryson DeChambeau, to his credit, made a charge like nobody's business, tied Schauffele. Xander's got a putt that can win him the tournament. It's not a gimme. It wasn't a tap-in, but it was obviously a makeable putt.
Yep.
If he makes it, he wins the PGA. If he misses it, he'll tap in for par, and now it's a playoff. That was some onions, man. To beat all your demons and to put all that stuff behind you and to just focus on the putt. By the way, it lipped. It wasn't clean.
Yep.
It, like, in basketball, when you spin one around, it goes in.
Right.
That's what that did for it. Like just a little spin around the cup and then fell in. So I give Xander Schauffele credit, man. He focused, pushed all that stuff out of his head and he even said, I didn't want my caddy on the green with me. It was just going to be me and the green, and I was going to hit this baby. So thumbs up to Xander Schauffele, because that was, and he said, I watched the leaderboard the entire time, because usually I try to put it out. No, I wanted to know everything that was going on around me at all times.
Right.
And sometimes look at that leaderboard can flip you out.
Oh, yeah. No, it's a mental thing for sure.
Golf is such a, yeah, I know. Look, technically you got to do 4 billion little things right all the time when you swing a club. But golf is so much from the neck up because you're walking. And when you're walking, Tyler, what are you typically doing? Thinking.
Yeah.
So it's, especially when you've fallen short, the more you fall short, the more it could get in your head. So,
especially when you're playing, because, of course, you play the same course 3 to 4 times, depending on what the tournament is. And, if you struggle on one particular hole, guess what? As you're getting close to that hole, all you're doing is thinking about that hole. Oh, man, I screwed this up last time. Don't screw it up again. Meanwhile, you just screwed up this other hole here. It's very much a mental game. But, yeah, Xander Schauffele is somebody that has been close many times, has always been in contention, but finally was able to break through over the weekend. Unfortunately for him, he's not the lead story coming away from the weekend, though. Let's
get to the lead story. Scotty Scheffler's arraignment has been delayed until June 3rd. Here's Scheffler going back to Friday when everything went sideways, but then Scotty came out and tore it up. But then everything kind of went sideways, and he had a bad second round?
Double bogeyed early on in the second round. Didn't really recover from that. Shot the same as Schauffele did on Sunday in the final round.
And it was the first time he had been over par in a long time in a round.
Yeah.
So basically, the first day didn't bother him.
He's the number 1 golfer in the world for a reason.
He came out after everything happened and had a phenomenal round.
Yeah.
But then the round the next day, which was Friday, if my memory serves me. Saturday, is when he had a sort of trouble.
Yep.
But here's Scotty Scheffler talking about how he rebounded from all the craziness and went out and had a good Friday round.
Yeah. First of all, my sympathies go out to the family, Mr. Mills. I can't imagine what they're going through this morning. One day he's heading to the golf course to watch a tournament, and a few moments later he's trying to cross the street, and now he's no longer with us. So I can't imagine what they're going through. My heart, I feel for them. I'm sorry. My situation will get handled. It was just it was a chaotic situation and a big misunderstanding, and I can't comment on any of the specifics of it. So I feel like y'all are gonna be disappointed, but can't comment on any specifics. But my situation will be handled. It was just a big misunderstanding. So if y'all got any questions about the golf today, I'm happy to answer them. But outside of that, I can't really get into what.
Scheffler, his arraignment on multiple charges stemming from this incident on Friday morning has been delayed till June 3rd. The detective has been put on administrative leave.
Mm-hmm.
The body camera was not activated.
Now, the way I understood it, because again, this was a fatality incident that involved the pedestrian. So I believe they had to call in a lot of these officers and this detective to help with the traffic control. So I don't know if that's different with like still having to have the working body cam or whatever. We just know that there is no first person account of this from the body cam that you would usually have. And again, it's being alleged that Scheffler drugged this guy 30, 40 yards with his car, and his pants were ruined and all this kind of stuff. So I'm not sure how this is going to get worked out, but this is it's going to be something to keep an eye on. Now, from what I was reading, I think over the weekend, you're supposed to have your body camera on. Yes. Because you never know what's going to happen. Once you're on duty, the body camera should be on. Now, they did say that there is footage captured from a fixed camera across the street, which will be released in the coming days. We'll see. Look, I don't know how this thing's going to play itself out, and we have to wait to see. But this could potentially just be another bad look for a police department that's had many bad looks in Louisville. And there's people that say they might not bring this back to Valhalla, the PGA, which is a shame because besides this incident, from what I've heard, everything went great. Yeah, absolutely. But stuff like this, I saw those vehicles, by the way. They're clearly marked. Which, and from what I understood, Scheffler was told prior to proceeding down there that, hey, you're in the tournament, you can go ahead and go in. So I don't know if it was like, hey, I'm not trying to go forward, I'm trying to turn in, and all the details will come out, but it's definitely a bad look, and as you said, the officer has been put on to leave for the moment and all that stuff. So, and his pants got messed up. $80 pants, apparently. And again, we don't want to look aside of the tragedy that unfolded that morning, which was awful. And look, Scheffler could be a guy. He could be in the wrong. We could see footage of this and go, oh my God, the mild-mannered dude did what? Right. So we'll have to wait and see. All right, this was weird. The Denver Nuggets are up 20 points at home in Game 7 in the third quarter. And who's defending champion again? It'd be the Nuggets. And they're playing a young team in Minnesota. You figure game over. Think again. The Timberwolves come back from 20 down to win Game 7 and move on to the Western Conference Finals.
Murray has it. He'll fire up a prayer. That's it. The Timberwolves have knocked out the defending champion Denver Nuggets. They are advancing to the Western Conference Finals for the first time in 20 years.
I'm going to say this. First of all, let's give Minnesota a ton of thumbs up here. They didn't shoot. They shot under 40% from the floor, under 30% from three. They got to the line a lot. Their best player went 6 of 24, and they came back from 20 down. They turned up the defense on Denver, and Denver looked like they had never played against defense in their entire life. I said this to the guys upstairs. I said, one team played like the defending champions, and one team played like a young team who had no idea what they were doing. But here's the thing. Minnesota played like the defending champions. Right. Denver played like a team had never been there before. The Nuggets had no business losing this game. And look, I'm not taking anything away from Minnesota. They turned up the defense. It totally changed everything in the second half. But if you're Denver, defending champions, having the, multiple-time MVP and a really good offensive player in Jamal Murray, and obviously I'm talking about Djokovic, and role players who have stepped up in the past, you have no excuse for the meltdown that you put up there in the last, 20 minutes of that basketball game. But give Minnesota credit because they took the screws to them, and Denver wilted. And look, this Minnesota team's fun to watch. You're obviously seeing an emerging next-level superstar in Anthony Edwards that's going to be around the league for a long time, and they just look like they're having fun, man. I mean, and that's fun to watch. And I'm going to say this. Edwards' mindset, even though he's, 14 years old, Edwards' mindset has taken – this whole team has taken it. Karl Anthony Towns typically is not the most intense, rugged, physical cat in the world. Right. He was playing defense like he was back at Kentucky. He hadn't played defense since he left Lexington. Right. Karl Anthony Towns was actually physical and engaged, and I give Minnesota – I'm not taking anything away from Minnesota, but Denver, you shouldn't have lost that game. All right, we'll come back in here. Greatest day in history of the world next on the Halftime Show on The Game. All right, we got to roll a bunch of these. And it's a very interesting day in the greatest day in the history of the world there, Tyler. Sponsored by 1-800-GOT-JUNK. This day in 2018, the Vegas Golden Knights won the Western Conference Finals, moved on to the Stanley Cup Finals. Second expansion team in the history of sports to do it. Also, an NHL team did it. St. Louis Blues, 67-68. Their head coach, I do believe, ready? Scotty Bowman.
Okay.
Known for winning Stanley Cups in Montreal and Pittsburgh. One of the greatest coaches in the history of the NHL. I believe was the head coach for the expansion Blues when they went to the Stanley Cup Final. I could be wrong because the top of my head doesn't work as good as it used to. But anyway. All right, a couple NASCAR. Let's see what you got here. I always test you. You've only wronged me once.
All right. Okay.
2015, they announced the NASCAR 2016 Hall of Fame inductees. Any clue? If you can get one.
Oh, so the 2016 Hall of Fame inductees?
If you get one, I'll be impressed.
Okay. That's a good question. Think here. Man, that's really specific.
It's not going to be easy because there's no wow pop. One, I believe his car had the cornflakes. It was a cornflakes
Terry
car.
Labonte.
Mm-hmm. Terry Labonte.
Terry Labonte in 16.
You won't get Jerry Cook. And Bobby Isaac.
Okay, yeah.
Yep. So I knew the cornflakes thing would get you because I even know that.
Yeah. No, Larson ran a throwback cornflakes scheme at Darlington last
Very
weekend.
cool. I like the cornflakes car. That was awesome. I'll give you another one too, NASCAR.
Okay.
What Nextel Cup rookie in 2005 became the youngest winner in the Craftsman Truck Series? We just talked about him a little while ago.
In the Craftsman Truck Series?
He drove in the Truck Series.
Okay, that was Kyle Busch.
He just got sucker punched.
Yeah.
Kyle Busch. Yep. So.
That's right. That was at Charlotte. 05.
Yep. 2007, Roger Federer ends Rafael Nadal's 81-match winning streak on clay. Look, Rafael Nadal, it's greatest clay court player in the history of tennis. What he does at the French Open is ridiculous. And of course, Nadal now his career is winding down. There's injuries, but with that guy, you just punched. You gave him the trophy before the tournament even started.
Right.
Also, a couple more things. In 1991, some dude named Michael Jordan won the NBA MVP award. Well, that never happened.
Not at all.
Also, Monica Seles ends Steffi Graf's 66-match win streak. Again, Monica Seles, before she got stabbed, was going on to what could have been a high-level career. And then some goober, wacko Steffi Graf fan reached over and stabbed her, and that changed everything. 1978, affirmed, ridden by who was looked at as a phenom of a jockey, Stevie Cawthon, wins the Preakness, beating Aladar. Affirmed and Aladar had this fantastic Triple Crown rivalry where all three races, Affirmed finished first and won the Triple Crown, and Aladar finished second. And Stevie Cawthon was the jockey. He was looked at as a phenom before the Triple Crown, teenage phenom, and he rode Affirmed.
Now, what difference does the jockey make?
I think strategically it can, and plus his weight. No, I just made that up. I think strategically there are things jockeys can. It's called a ride, a good ride, a bad ride.
Yeah.
Like for an example, they talked about Mystic Dan.
Yeah.
Great ride to win the Preakness. You go, okay, my horses. We're gonna go to the rail right now because the way this thing is, or there's a lot of dirt, and I want to get him out of harm's way. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
The jockey does matter strategically.
Yeah.
Now, again, can a jockey screw one up? Absolutely. Sure. There's been jockeys who have been given bad rides to really good horses that have ruined races. So they matter strategically.
Okay.
But again, if you have a horse who's dominant.
I've never taken a deep dive into horse racing.
We just did. You feel better?
Totally.
This is interesting. I want to get this out. On this day, everybody knows about Joe Frazier, iconic heavyweight champion.
Right.
Joe Frazier won the gold medal in the Olympics in 1964. Rome? I think Rome, 1964. But Joe Frazier did not win at the U.S. Olympic boxing trials. He was beaten by a dude named Buster Mathis. But Buster Mathis, despite outpointing Frazier at the trials, injured his thumb, so Frazier went in his place and won the gold medal.
Wow.
Buster Mathis was a heavyweight boxer for a long time. Obviously not to the level of Joe Frazier, but Buster Mathis actually beat Joe Frazier at the Olympic trials in '64. But because he was hurt, Frazier went on to the Olympic Games and won a gold medal.
You know, Buster Mathis tells that, or probably told that story for a long time. If I would have gone.
Ready? Yeah. You know, that guy, you can see him. Like if Frazier beat Ali at Madison Square Garden to win the heavyweight title, here's what Buster Mathis did.
Beat that guy.
Beat that guy in the Olympic trials.
So-
One for my hand, I beat Joe Frazier.
By the transitive property, I also beat Muhammad
I
Ali.
am the heavyweight champion. Yes.
Sure, buddy.
Ready? Everybody, when Buster Mathis comes in, the eye roll starts.
I was going to say, and that was back, it's not like they were going to have video recording of that happening possibly. So it's just his word against everybody else is like, yeah, sure, buddy. Of course you did.
Yeah, you did. I did. Really? You got any proof?
No.
I did.
I got the scorecard. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you probably did that yourself. We don't believe you. Seriously. Because Buster Mathis, again, this wasn't a guy that had some, wonderful, crazy, like I'm looking at it right now. Ended his career, ready? He had 30 wins and 4 losses, 21 wins by knockout. Let's see here. I'm seeing if he... Yeah, it wasn't like a career where it was like, oh my God, wow. 30 and 4 is good.
Right.
But it wasn't like he was on the high level of heavyweight champions. Matter of fact, I'm looking at this. Won the world super heavyweight title, whatever that was, back in 1972. And then he lost it, I think, to Ron Lyle. Or he just, I guess they stopped it. I don't know. Tyler, it was gone. Looking at his record right now. But Buster Mathis in 1964 was the true Olympic, was the U.S. trials winner, and then had to let Joe Frazier go.
Wow.
There you go.
Wow.
Interesting little piece of trivia. And last but not least, just to remind you, as good as Shohei Ohtani is, and he's phenomenal, there was this dude named Babe Ruth. And again, it was before Sports Center. We don't know if it's even true. Anything before Sports Center and cable, we don't know.
Questionable.
1919, Babe Ruth, pitching for the Boston Red Sox, got the win on the mound and hit a grand slam in the same game as the Red Sox beat the St. Louis Browns.
He must have had an extra beer and a hot dog that day.
Yeah. Well, he said it on the mound. He said his beer on the mound and his hot dog, and then
Actually, he had the hot dog in his back pocket.
In his mouth.
Yeah. Take a bite, throw.
By the way, beat the St. Louis Browns, who later on became the Baltimore Orioles.
All right, then.
There you go. This day, greatest day in the history of the world, May 20th. Like always, sponsored by 1-800-GOT-JUNK. We'll come back in. Our Firehouse sub text the hour at 803-404-6100. Maybe we'll yip with Jay Phillips before it's all said and done. It is the halftime show. Terry Ford and Tyler Head right here on The Game. All right, before we get to the Firehouse Subtext Hour, one thing we didn't get to today, just because it's fascinating. Seize the Gray won the Preakness.
Yep.
And no one saw that coming. And it's interesting for two reasons. A, D. Wayne Lucas is 170 years old. Okay, he's 88. And a Hall of Fame trainer.
Sure.
Hasn't won a race in a little bit, but still trains a bunch of horses. Well, Seize the Gray is a D. Wayne Lucas trained horse. So Lucas won his 7th Preakness.
Wow.
But the other story, this horse is owned by a company called My Racehorse.
Okay.
Over 2,000 people own this horse.
How does that work?
I'm looking at it right now. A guy named Michael Behrens is the founder. It's called My Racehorse. And basically you put in X amount of money and you have a stake in the horse. And over 2,000 people, over 2,100 people, matter of fact, I believe, own a stake in this horse.
So does that mean they split the winnings?
Yeah, they're all getting 72 cents. I don't know, but it's like craziness. How many people? It's just a cool story. And the guy was up, at the post race, and he's talking about it, and it's just like, well, okay, it's like crowdfunding or whatever. It was a pretty wild deal. But D. Wayne Lucas, that's a great story because he's almost 90 and he's still training Triple Crown winners, and over 2,100 people own the horse. So I guess the stage got pretty crowded, Jay Phillips.
Yeah. And D. Wayne Lucas, sharp as a tack.
Yes!
I mean, just nailing I'm not trying to be ageist or anything at all, but for an 89-year-old man.
Yes!
I mean, the way he was being interviewed, I was like, no wonder he's still got champions.
Well, they say
he's on top of everything.
The only thing because he rides every day.
Yeah.
Now he just needs a little step stool and needs some help to get up there, but he's still out there active. And you're right. I saw some of his post-race.
Yeah, he was great.
Wayne was on it, man.
He was great.
Wayne was on it.
I drive a Sequoia, and it's got a running board. If it didn't,
just can't get up there like the 25-year-old version of Jay Phillips.
I'm down.
How you doing, Bob?
I'm all right. I don't know what the next 3 hours hold. I'm not sure exactly all that you guys have.
I'll say this. We'll get to maybe the Firehouse Subtext the hour will give you an idea at 803.
Oh, good.
404-6100. What you got there, Tyler?
Not quite. We talked about graduating a little bit earlier.
Okay.
Somebody asked, how many people did you graduate with? I graduated with 126 back in 07. I think my class was like 400 or 450.
Well, first of all, at my school, at Kenwood, typically it took you 7 years to complete high school, like it was med school. No, we had my school was the second biggest school in the county. I don't know, near 1,000 maybe, or 800 or something crazy in my graduating class.
What was y'all's top classification in the state?
Oh, we were like 4 or 5A. We were a gigantic school.
See, we got into 7A by the time I graduated.
Oh, geez. Well, you got a little bit bigger state than Maryland.
Georgia's too big.
That's true.
Yeah, my school was 3 floors. I mean, don't get me wrong. We had a jail like the vet.
Oh, my school was 3 floors, so we didn't have that.
Did you do the thing at graduation where you look around? I'm like, I don't know half these people.
Oh, when someone comes in today, hey, can you sign my yearbook? And you start going through. Okay, who the hell are you?
Yeah.
Let me take a look. Okay, Bobby. Hey, Bobby, we had a lot of fun in
study hall. Was fun. Enjoy your summer. Go mascot.
Yeah, I mean, our school was pretty big. Our graduating class was huge. I don't forget my dad at the end. He's sitting there going, good God, that took a long time. Because my dad was in a little house in a prairie schoolhouse.
Yeah.
He's like, my God, this took forever. I was almost out of cigarettes.
They make you hold your applause to the end?
No, they should have. And nobody listens to that anyway.
Nobody does. Over in Carolina the other day, they must have said 10 different times, please don't yell for your student. Because the next
thing, because tell me not to yell for my baby.
They're rattling the names off so fast that if somebody like John Jones, and like Jim Johnson, and like you don't hear them, and it's like, come on, man.
Well, you know what? My baby's graduating.
Yeah, we did not.
Did you not?
We did not cheer.
That's what I love about like the big college graduation, because you have the individual ones where they read your names off and stuff. The big huge graduation. All right, this school stand up. Sit down. This school stand up, sit down. I'm like, that's a much more efficient way to do this.
Yeah, I remember because my kids are graduating. I was that guy. Woohoo! Yeah! Woo! Doesn't happen much in our family. Woo! Usually we're doing that when they're let out of prison or come out of the gates. Woo!
Sure. Like the Blues Brothers.
Exactly.
It's good.
Oh man. So I'll tell you this. The fan base is not in the best of moods.
Oh, okay.
To say the least.
Well, that helps. Thanks.
I would say, how much positivity on the old Firehouse subtext line?
That'd be none.
Yeah.
Are y'all still talking to Kingston at 3:30 today?
We do. No, they're
today.
traveling today.
Okay,
He had no.
presser earlier.
Yeah, he had a presser earlier. Typically, he does not on Mondays, and he is kind enough to join us. But today, they are on the bus.
The contingent is not pleased with him right now.
Well, I hope nobody thinks that he's like ditching us.
No. Because once this thing turns into postseason, the way it goes, everything just changes.
Yeah. I mean, they got a game tomorrow. Again, he talked today.
Look, man, we can sit here and talk about things all day. Like Mark posts.
Yeah.
That's one thing Mark does.
Yeah.
He's posted when things have gone well.
Yeah.
He's posted
Up,
when
down.
things haven't gone well. Mark posted 2 years ago when they didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Didn't make the postseason, rather.
Yeah.
Mark posted. So...
if there is a sliver, I mean, I don't know if this is good news because some people I think are like, I don't even want to make the tournament. But the new D1 projections, I watched their podcast today as they were doing it live.
Okay, what do they got?
And if it matters to anybody, Carolina is still in as a 3, and they were not amongst the last 4 in. They were very close to that. I might have said of the last 8 in, they might have been in that group. But in the official little last 4 in column, they're not in that.
You and I were yipping about this earlier. 13-win SEC team with an RPI in the top 30, they get in.
Typically.
But again, I asked this question to Tyler, and I'll ask you because maybe you know. Has a team ever been invited to the NCAA tournament on a 7-game losing streak?
Oh, I don't know. I probably at some point, like somebody has. I would, over the course of 30, 40 years.
You know what we got to do? Get our crack research department to take a look at that one for us.
Yeah, I don't know. Because that's, like you and I said, does the last 10 keep you out or does the last 10 seed you?
I'm a body of work guy because I think that's why you play a whole season.
Yeah.
But again, human nature and people do this thing. So, well, have fun.
Tomorrow could be a semi-elimination game of sorts with Bama.
You have a good time today.
I'll do my best.
All right, Jay Phillips, Elijah, post-game show next. Tyler, nice work, my friend. We'll do it tomorrow.